And let's begin this hour with President Biden's warning to Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. The two leaders spoke by phone yesterday for about 30 minutes. It was their first conversation since the Israeli airstrikes that killed 7 food aid workers in Gaza. The White House says the president told the prime minister Israel needs to change its approach to Gaza with immediate action and that future support for the country from the United States depends on them doing so. Secretary of State Antony Blinken, who was on that call, gave more detail about the conversation yesterday while at NATO meetings in Brussels.
The president emphasized that the strikes on humanitarian workers and the overall humanitarian situation are unacceptable. He made clear the need for Israel to announce a series of specific, concrete, and measurable steps to address civilian harm, humanitarian suffering, and the safety of aid workers. He made clear that U.S. policy with respect to Gaza will be determined by our assessment of Israel's immediate action on these steps. He underscored as well that an immediate ceasefire is essential to stabilize and improve the humanitarian situation and protect innocent civilians, and he urged Prime Minister Netanyahu to empower his negotiators to conclude a deal without delay to bring the hostages home.
After the phone call between President Biden and Prime Minister Netanyahu, Israel committed to opening more aid routes into Gaza, saying it will use the Ashdod port for the direct delivery of assistance and will open a crossing to allow aid to reach the northern part of the territory. Israel also will significantly increase the amount of deliveries from Jordan into Gaza. No timetable spelled out yet. However, according to a White House National Security Council spokesperson, the steps announced by Israel, quote, must now be fully and rapidly implemented. So, Joe, another intense phone call, this time between President Biden and Prime Minister Netanyahu, all, of course, coming on the heels of that awful tragedy where 7 aid workers were killed. We had one of the ministers, the foreign mayor of Jerusalem, on our show yesterday. Didn't seem terribly sympathetic to what had happened, said it was a, quote, mistake, but wanted to focus on other things and continue the war there. But it's clear now from the White House there will be conditions perhaps going forward on aid from the United States to Israel.
Right. And he wanted to talk about the hostages. And of course, that's great. Wanted to ignore the fact that the Gazan people are facing famine, extraordinary hardship, and wanted to talk about Hamas, as do we. We all agree that Hamas, and we've always believed Hamas, we're a group of terrorist thugs. But that separates us from Benjamin Netanyahu, who, again, it can't be said enough. Benjamin Netanyahu saw Hamas as a political ally for years. Benjamin Netanyahu was responsible for the funding of that terrorist organization for years. Benjamin Netanyahu told Qatar to give tens of millions of more dollars to Hamas weeks before the attack, the worst attack on Jews since the Holocaust. So for those, and I've heard it read it for the past 16, 18 hours since this phone call, for those saying, oh, but what about Hamas? How could Joe Biden not talk about Hamas? Why doesn't Joe Biden see Hamas as the real enemy here? He does. But that's what separates Richard Haass, Joe Biden, from Benjamin Netanyahu. Joe Biden never saw Hamas as an ally. Benjamin Netanyahu did. And those who are attacking Joe Biden for stepping in and actually trying to help Israel, help itself, they claim to be right-wing supporters of Israel. In fact, they're just like a parent that wants to shove candy down a diabetic child's throat. What they are doing, what they are suggesting, hurts Israel in the short run and in the long run. And they knew it. And they knew it. And I would love to see all the editorials talking about how much damage this is doing to the standing of Israel in America, in the West, and across the world. Because, unlike what the Wall Street Journal editorial page says this morning, this is not coming from left-wing anti-Israel factions. This is coming from, in my case, a conservative pro-Israeli faction, in the president's case, a very pro-Israeli Democrat. There are those of us who actually want Israel to be protected from the damage that Benjamin Netanyahu is inflicting on the Gazan people and on the Israeli people and on the families of the hostages and on Israel's long-term standing, health, and strength in the world community.
Yeah, this whole phrase, pro-Israel, actually makes it almost impossible to have a serious conversation. The idea that if you're critical of Israeli government policy, the most right-wing government in Israel's history, the government, as you said, that for years green-lighted support to Hamas simply to divide and conquer the Palestinian political movement, the government that was asleep at the switch on October 7th, if somehow you criticize them, then that makes you anti-Israel. And what if you give them blanket support, that makes you pro-Israel, even if, as you say, a lot of what they're doing is harmful to the relationship between Israel and its most important backer, the United States. So certain terms like, pro-Israel and the rest, let's just put those to the side. I think the real test now going forward, Joe, after the phone call is, what did the Israelis take from this? Yes, they've slightly opened the spigots on food aid. Why it took them so long, we can put that conversation to the side right now.
Well, no, I don't want to put that conversation to the side. Okay. It is increasingly looking like Benjamin Netanyahu had a plan to force famine on the Palestinian people, on the Gazan people, to amp up the pressure on Hamas. Of course, it seems to me that the hostages aren't even secondary in his mind because... Of course, and people say, well, Hamas could release hostages. Yeah, they could. They're terrorists. They're terrorists. They're not going to release the hostages unless the conditions are right, which the conditions most likely are a ceasefire and the allowing of the worst terrorists to escape out of Gaza with their lives. But this whole idea that if we starve the Gazan people, that's going to somehow help Israel in the long run? That's going to help the hostages? No, that's hurting the hostages. It's hurting Israel. And of course, you're starving women and children in Gaza. And as Caddy said yesterday, they're now having to grind up dog food and cat food and eat that and drink salt water. I mean, it's savage conditions. And it's calculated, and let me say, it's calculated just like Stalin's starvation of Ukrainians was calculated. This is calculated by Benjamin Netanyahu, and somebody needs to ask me why the hell the United States shouldn't intervene with a guy that has a 20% approval rating and knows that when the war is over, he could be going to jail.
What you're seeing from Israeli policy, I would argue, is truly misguided. There's been, I think, let's just call it what it is, a siege on Gaza, as you say. But in these kinds of situations, we've learned that from the American experience in the Middle East. The old argument, you've got to try to win the hearts and minds. And what's so striking to me about Israeli policy is there's been nothing to win over the people. You see the siege on humanitarian supplies. You see the fact that maybe 18 or 20,000 civilians have been killed, not to mention the 200 aid workers. You see settlement activity, land expropriation continuing. You see no introduction of any ideas politically that would offer a political alternative to the violence of Hamas. So how is this supposed to end well? Does Israel seriously think it can somehow militarily alone destroy Palestinian nationalism as manifested by Hamas, and that's going to do it? So what's striking to me is both what Israel is doing, Joe, and how it's doing it, but also what it's not doing. This is a policy that I would say is doomed to fail.
Jonathan, we have always said that those chanting from the river to the sea, I won't say, I'll say myself, are talking about driving Israel into the sea. It is an anti-Semitic chant. It is an anti-Israeli chant. Sadly, That's where Benjamin Netanyahu has come. I mean, he now is taking a position, and the extremists in his government are taking the position of from the river to the sea. This is all Israel. The Gazans need to leave. We're going to continue to steal land from the Palestinians in the West Bank. We're going to continue driving Palestinians off their own land. Benjamin Netanyahu and these extremists now say all of the land is theirs. The West Bank, Gaza, everything. The Palestinians need to leave. Let me tell you something. The Trump administration thought that they could get Middle East peace by cutting the Palestinians out. I thought it was a preposterous idea at the time. I was glad to see some Arab nations making peace with Israel. But their calculation was, we can buy off these countries. We can give them something that they want. And all the Arab countries hate the Palestinians anyway, so they'll be glad to cut the Palestinians out of the peace deal. That was the calculation. You can't cut the Palestinians out. We've seen what happens when you try to pretend they don't exist. And this is the fantasy world that Benjamin Netanyahu is living in. And why should Americans that don't give a damn about the Middle East care about it? Because it impacts us. Because we are Israel's guarantor. Not just militarily, but we guarantee their existence. And if we're going to guarantee their existence like we have since 1948, then we need a partner that is going to act responsibly and it's going to understand there has to be a two-state solution. And now they've moved away from it. There's a no two-state solution. Well, it's just not going to work. And the United States can't continue as Israel's partner if there's not going to be a two-state solution, because we're going to see war for another, 60, 70, 80 years, and we're going to be in the middle of it.
Hey everyone, MSNBC has a new and improved app. You'll get real-time alerts and analysis, live blogs, in-depth essays, video highlights, and the best 2024 election coverage. Download the new MSNBC app. Here's how to do it. You tap on the App Store on your phone. You hit search on the bottom right corner. You type in MSNBC. You click on the MSNBC app. You click on Get or the cloud icon and enjoy it.